Now we continue with the theme of government interference, and this time the fourth different tool or method of government interference that we are going to introduce is known as a price floor, or simply as a minimum price. Now these price floors, they are the exact opposite of price ceilings. And price ceilings, remember we said, is when the government enters or looks at the market or free market of some product. So free market meaning demand and supply determining alone the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. So let me draw the equilibrium quantity over here. So let's assume this is a market for, let's say, rice, or you can think of any product. Now the government, if it thinks that this equilibrium price of 50 rupees is too high, too steep, and therefore they believe that the market is treating the consumers unfairly, and the government wants to help the consumers and make this product more affordable for them. That is where we said that the government would come in and pick up a lower price, let's say a price of 25, and announce that to be the price ceiling or the maximum price that can be charged in the market. So price ceiling of 25, it's there to protect the consumers. The government is saying that, look, we don't care about demand and supply, but we will not allow anybody to charge more than 25 rupees for this particular product. Now that was the idea behind the price ceiling. Now price floor, on the other hand, is again, it involves the government coming in and observing the free market outcome of a particular product, and the government again thinks that the price of 50 rupees is unfair. But in case of a price floor, the government thinks that this price is unfair in the sense of being too low. That is, the government thinks that this product is so cheap and that the market seems to be treating the producers unfairly or unreasonably. And if the government wants this time to help the producers, and that is, the government wants to ensure that the producers at least get some reasonable minimum price, so the government may pick up a price like 75, anything above 50, and set that by law as the minimum price. Now this minimum price is what is known as a price floor. This price floor set at 75 means that the government is saying nobody is legally allowed to charge any price below 75 rupees. You must at least charge or pay 75 to get this particular product. Now on the face of it, it seems very obvious that the producers should be happy. The government is sort of ensuring that instead of 50 rupees per unit, they will now get 75. But again, the reality is that these price floors, sort of a very crude way in which the government is just jumping in and using its authority as the government and just ordering or passing a law that the minimum price is 75, it won't work to help the producers. And the simple reason is that you see the government effectively has just increased the price from 50 to 75 rupees. And as soon as this product becomes expensive, the consumers will leave the market. And graphically, that is represented in the fact that at this new price of 75, the quantity demanded, the horizontal distance till the demand curve, and if we mark it down over here, let's call that QD. Now this QD is clearly less than the quantity demanded of 100 in the free market. So some consumers certainly stop buying this product, whereas this artificial increase that has come into effect because of government's order, and this increase in price excites the producers who can now make more profit, so the quantity supplied increases, the horizontal distance at this price till the supply curve, and we can mark it down over here. So this is the new quantity supplied, clearly more than the 100 units that have been supplied in the free market. So let's assume this is a quantity supplied of 130, and let's assume this is a quantity demanded of just 70. So what really has happened after this price floor is that the consumers, they only now want to buy 70 units, whereas the producers, they have now produced a massive total of 130 units. So how many units will be traded? Well, there are a lot of producers who want to sell a total of 130 units of this product, but since only 70 consumers buy, so this quantity demanded of 70 will be the quantity that is traded in the market. That is, producers, they will only be able to sell 70 units, And all of this rest of the supply that they have brought into the market, this difference, this horizontal distance, which will exactly be equal to 60 units based on the numbers that we have been taking, the 60 units will be the surplus, the excess supply, the overproduction that has taken place. And that is all that the a price flow would do. That is where the market will be stuck, because in a free market, if there is no government intervention, that given this surplus, the prices would start to fall. And as prices falls, more consumers will rush into the market and producers will stop producing so much. They will reduce the quantity supplied and you will get rid of the surplus. You will get back to this equilibrium. But the price floor, all it does is it sort of freezes or blocks the whole system at this undesirable position or situation where you have a surplus. Surplus meaning that there are producers who have produced this product who want to sell it, but they are unable to do that. So overall, producers, they sell less than before. They are just selling 70 units instead of 100. And there is a surplus. That is, some producers, they are not able to sell at all. So producers as a group, at least, they are clearly hurt by this policy of a price floor. Now, this is also known as a price floor by law, because all that the government is doing here is just passing a law that, look, nobody can charge less than 75, and that's it. And then the government steps back. So it is known as a price floor by law. And as we have seen, it's a failure in the sense that it doesn't help the producers. Now, some producers, always remember, will benefit because there are still 70 units that are being purchased and therefore being sold. And these 70 units, yes, on these 70 units, the lucky producers who are selling them will get a price of 75 per unit instead of 50. But the problem is only 70 instead of 100 units are being sold. So less is sold, and then there is the surplus, people with unsold stock. So although generally these price floors by law, they don't work, but there is a way in which the government can somehow make this system of price flow work in the favor of producers. They can somehow make the situation work that in the end the producers, they really do benefit. Now that requires, and let me do it over here. Now that policy where a price floor, it actually ends up helping the producers, that requires again, first of all, the government to come in and announce a minimum price using its authority as a government. But then the government stays in the market and backs up this minimum price law with a guarantee that the government will buy any surplus that is created in the market. So the government, it is again, it is when it announces a price floor, it is foreseeing that it will create all of this surplus. But then the government is also giving a guarantee that we are prepared to buy all of this surplus. We will buy this from the producers if the consumers are not willing to buy all that has been produced. Now, this sort of a price flow where the government announces a minimum price and guarantees to support it by buying the surplus is known as price flow by stock purchase, or it is also sometimes known as a minimum price guarantee. Guarantee in the sense that the government is saying we are not just using our authority and passing a law. We are just staying in the market and we are saying that, okay, we will buy this surplus and keep the market at this level of price. Now, if this is how a price floor is levied, if we are talking about a price floor by stock purchase or by guarantee of buying the surplus, then the producers will benefit. Because now the producers will get 75 instead of 50 rupees per unit. Then 70 of these units will be bought by the consumers, and all of the rest of the surplus where the producers were previously waiting and not able to sell it, now the government will come in and buy all of the surplus from the producers. So eventually the producers will be able to sell all of these 130 units, 70 to the consumers and the rest of the 60 to the government, all at the price of 75. So producers now sell more than before, and then they get a higher price per unit than before. So this time the producers, they will definitely benefit and they will be happy about it. However, and there is always a however in economics, here comes the issue and the controversy about these price flows by stock purchase. Now, first of all, the problem is that these price flows by guarantee of stock purchase, they involve a huge cost for the government. Because the government, when they come in and say, okay, we will buy these 60 units, by paying you a minimum price that we have guaranteed of 75. So that price of 75 is this vertical distance over here. So this is the price per unit, the vertical distance. This is the total surplus that the government is going to buy. 60 units, the government will buy 60 units at a price of 75 each. So the total cost to the government will be 60 units into price per unit of 75. Now you can do the calculation over here. That's not important. These are all imaginary numbers. What's more important is that we can show graphically the area reflecting this total cost, because if this distance, horizontal distance, is the total quantity and this vertical distance is the price per unit, so the total quantity that the government is going to buy, then if you multiply these two, the quantity by price, you get the total cost. Graphically, the quantity is the base and the price per unit is the vertical height of this rectangle formed over here. So when you multiply the quantity or base with the price or the height, what you get is the area of this entire rectangular area over here, this rectangular area over here. So this is the cost of sort of enforcing this policy, enforcing this price flow by guaranteed stock purchase. And since there is a cost to the government, that means there is an opportunity cost. That is, the government, if it hadn't sort of used its resources or money to support this price for the producers artificially, then they could have used that money to do some other good thing for the economy, maybe build a school or maybe construct a new road or anything that you can think of. So there is an opportunity cost to maintaining these minimum prices by stock purchase guarantee. But there are other issues involved as well. One of them being that if you give these sort of price floors, guarantees to the producers of a certain minimum price, then it will create inefficiency, because you are putting the producers in too comfortable a position. You are telling them that, look, the government is assuring them that, look, you will get a greater price than the free market equilibrium, and we guarantee you that everything you produce will be bought. If the consumers don't buy it, there is a surplus, we will come in and buy it. So the producers will of course relax, and they will not feel the urge to put in the effort required to minimize the cost as much as possible or maintain the quality, because the government will in any case come in and buy it from them at this guaranteed minimum price. So that means in the long term there will be inefficiency, there will be lack of innovation, because the producers, they won't feel as if they need to do anything or improve what they are doing. And then there is another bit technical but a very interesting sort of issue related to these price flows by stock purchasers. And that issue relates to international trade. You see, the governments, when they come in and buy the surplus to maintain prices at home and support their local producers, what will the government do with the surplus? Now, most often what the governments would do is that they would just, take the surplus and sort of throw it in the international market. They would try to, sort of gain export revenue by just selling it in the international market. Now, what that does is that in the international market, there is always going to be some world supply and world demand that has put the international market price at a certain equilibrium. Now, if some country gives this sort of a policy to their local producers to help them earn a better price, and then the government, ends up buying all of the surplus and brings it to the international market, sort of dumps it here, that means suddenly the world supply will increase. The world supply will increase, and therefore the price of this product in the international markets will fall. And that means that all the producers of this product sitting in other countries, when they bring their products in the international market, they will be disappointed to see that the prices are really depressed, and they will all suffer. Now, this is a very serious consequence. Anyhow, more about that in the next video. But let me just summarize generally what you need to know about price flows. Just remember that price flows, there are two types. The most straightforward one is the price flow by law, and the simple result that gives is that it creates a surplus, and that is where the market is stuck. So the producers, they sell less than before, and some of them are not able to sell at all. So producers are hurt. So we can say that there will be a surplus that will be created, and instead of saying producers are hurt, we can also say the producers' surplus will fall. And the consumers, of course, they will be hurt, because they will have to pay a higher price per unit, so we can say the consumer surplus will also fall. And since producers and consumer surplus both are falling, we can say that there will be inefficiency that will be created. There will be a loss of welfare. Remember, old friend, there will be a dead weight loss that is created because of this sort of a government interference, price floor by law. And it fails to please the producers. In fact, it hurts the producers. Whereas price flows by stock purchases, that's a different story. That's where the government, realizing and accepting there will be a surplus, it backs up its minimum price by a guarantee to buy all of that surplus. And that will definitely help the producers. They will sell more, get a higher price per unit, but there are a lot of costs involved with this particular policy.